There we go. So hi and welcome to everybody that's logged on, that's with us on the Saturday morning for a 2-hour session on money. One of the things that Penny and I recognize and have recognized as long as we've been together is how important this money management thing is. I heard my daughter speaking a little while ago to a friend, and she said, this is about 1.5 years ago, and she said, yeah, I'm not here to make money. And I went, hey, what do you mean you're not here to make money? Money is secondly important to oxygen. If you have no oxygen, you die. If you have no money, you die. And I went to her and I said, it's not so much the money for you, it's what you can do with your money that's important. And those of you that understand how important that is, in an emergency, you've got money. In the event of you wanting to do something to expand your business, you've got money. If you want to educate your children, you've got money. So making money, in our understanding, is really, really important. Now, we've been influenced specifically by Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote a series of books. Probably the most important one that he wrote was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was the first time that we'd actually heard of Kiyosaki, and I'm incredibly grateful to say that I've actually had the opportunity of seeing him live, and I got one of those selfie photographs with him, Nathan and myself, when he spoke in Cape Town. So this whole thing about money, we're going to be talking about it today. The second thing that I want to mention to you is that I was a co-pastor of a church for about 7 years in Mitchell's Plain, and during that time, I used to hear these people saying, not at church, but other people saying, that money is the root of all evil. And that is not true. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. And if you take out that word love, then money is wrong. Capitalism is wrong. Whatever it might be is wrong, because people say money is the root of all. That's not true. It's the love of money. It's the all-consuming desire to make money. But we also realize that if you have money, you can do things. And this has just been a personal journey of ours. And when I met Penny, Penny was literally in a situation, she was working on massive events, and we'll talk a little bit about it. She'll talk about it as well. And those events required money. And those, in some instances, millions of rands to actually perform and produce these events, and she'll talk about that. But I also found, and I know that she won't mind me saying this, that she was making money for other people and not making money for herself. And in fact, some of the events that she was involved with, she was actually paying in to somebody else's event so that their event could be successful. And we met around about the time of the All Africa Games, and she was working on the All Africa Games as the director and producer of a massive show with 3,000 performers in it. She had also worked on about 100 other television productions and things of that nature. And as a result of that, she knew and understood how to do the production, but not how to make the money. And she then embarked on a journey where she said, I want to make sure that I can actually make money, manage money, and obviously with that, grow the business and have a life that she desires. The last thing that I'll say is that Penny's got a BA degree in fine arts from the University of Cape Town. But as she says, it's not a degree in finance. And we often find people having degrees that know nothing about money. Your local doctor probably doesn't know how to make money. And you probably find that he could be sequestrated, liquidated, or something annihilated somewhere along the line. So I'm going to start now with the share screen. And I want to say to everybody that's joined us, welcome. Lovely to have you with us. It's a real privilege and honor. And I know, let's quickly go on to that. I know for a fact that you're going to learn an enormous amount from Penny today. So with that, I'm going to just quickly run through a couple of things. The first thing is that you can find out more about Penny and her background and what she does, and she works on television shows and television adverts literally around the world. And she's highly respected in her arena, but that's not for today. You can have a look at that. She's also currently writing a book on money and money management, and she'll tell you a little bit about that. We have a number of speakers that will be joining us today. We have Stephanie Nelson, who's our CITO accreditation specialist. She's going to be talking on the financial documents required for CITO accreditation. We have one of our affiliates, Nicky, who's going to be talking about debt control within a training organization. And then we have a colleague of ours, Pearson, who's going to be talking about how to price yourself so that when you're providing accredited training, that you don't outprice yourself and end up going out of business. Okay, at this stage, what we ask is that everybody just register by sending the word morning to Penny on her phone, and her telephone number is 082 920 89. Oh, sorry, 082. I knew I was going to do that. 082 920 8170 to 8170, and just send the word morning so that we know that you're there. We have a couple of guests that have joined that haven't registered via the internet or any other place, and then we'll be able to talk to you on an ongoing basis from there onwards. Okay, so that's great. Thank you very much. I can actually see and hear the messages coming through. While that's happening, I want to tell you a little bit about our team. So obviously, Penny and myself, we started the business about 15 years ago with the prime objective of assisting trainers to run their own training business in the health and safety spectrum. But now that's moving into the general training arena, where we're also dealing with people that have training companies but not specializing in health and safety. There's Nathan with the beard. So have a look at that beard. How's that for a beard? And then his wife, Deirdre, they're part of our team. They do, Nathan does CRM and Deirdre does quality management. Then my daughter, Natalie, and she's based in Cape Town again. She used to be with us here in Mauritius, but she's no longer. Her partner and friend, Devet Boshoff, who is our integration and SEO specialist and our automation specialist. Underneath him, Devan Jabab, and Devan is the custodian of our e-learning system. He's also one of our affiliates. In the white top and dark hair, that's Charlene. She's our quality control specialist, and she makes sure that our training material is CETA accreditation ready. And then we have Stephanie, and you'll be hearing from Stephanie later on in the day. A little bit about ourselves while we just align the last couple of guests in, is that we've set a business mechanism or model where we take a person who wants to be a trainer in the health and safety world, and we then assist them, guide them, equip them, orientate them, and so forth. So more about that at a later stage, not for now. So those of you that have just entered, can I ask you to send the word morning to Penny's number? And I just want to see, yep, we've got a couple of people that have said morning. We appreciate that. I can see Kevin and Letitia and Marlene. Hi, Marlene from Cape Town. I can see Dani and a couple of other people. Brad there. I can see you. Trevlin, welcome all the way from KZN. And Tiana and Nicky and Nati and Ansi and so forth. So fantastic. Lovely to have you with us. And with that, I'm going to start handing over to Penny. So I want to say that you're in very good hands. I've learned an enormous amount from Penny on the subject of money and money management, and she has become my mentor in this realm. Over to Penny Jones.
So welcome, everybody. It's so awesome to have you with me this morning and sacrificing part of your Saturday morning. And this is going to be an ultra-fast version of top financial tips. And it's going to be delivered in kind of rapid fire bullet points. So what I would like to recommend is have a notepad and a pen with you. We're going to do question and answer right at the end of the 2-hour session. So after the break and after the second session. And if there's anything that you want to ask, then absolutely just make a note of that. On the 29th of May, I'm going to be doing a full 4-hour professional workshop, and that is going to be a paid version, and that is going to be 950 rands per person. But if any of you might be interested after today for a more in-depth analysis, because obviously some of the points that I'm going to be tackling today, I'm literally going to be hitting you with a couple of 2 or 3 major points, and there could be 20 points for that particular subject. You're more than welcome to attend that. That's more generic. Today was designed specifically for our affiliates. And of course, for affiliates, if you would like to attend the workshop on the Saturday, the 29th of May, for affiliates in good standing, that will be free. I'll be giving you a free voucher for that. So you can definitely let me know. So as Ken was saying, one of our main missions for the IntraSafe affiliate program, and indeed for the rest of our life, is the acronym HOPE. HOPE, helping others prosper and excel. And we really want you to make money. But very importantly, if you are not happy now, you're not going to be happy when you have money. You're just going to be a very sad rich person. So we really want to encourage you, number one, have a positive attitude and be happy every day, because that's what's really important. And if you don't have a positive attitude, nothing else is going to work. That's for sure. So I'm going to be offering some financial guidance here, and I'm going to be working really, really fast. One of my money penny tips is human beings have the remarkable ability to turn nothing into something. They can turn weeds into a garden and pennies into a fortune. So whatever your circumstances, and with COVID-19 or whatever, always remember that there's a massive amount of opportunity out there. And we are constantly bombarded every day from affiliates telling us of what they're doing and the success that they're having out there. So we really want to encourage you. I'm a massive fan of Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read any of Napoleon Hill, there's a lot available online for free. Please Google. If there's one book that you need to read, definitely it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And we'll be sending you the references for those books as well. So who am I and why do I have the credentials to talk to you about money? Well, I have more than 3 decades experience of starting small businesses, running small businesses or productions, etc. I have worked with small budgets and big budgets. For the Cricket World Cup in 2003, the budget was in excess of 30 million rands over a 6 to 12 month period. So I've definitely had experience in dealing with budgets. But as Kenny said, yes, I've got a BA finance and not finance. So I've had to learn the hard way. And I always feel desperately sorry when I hear people's comments and I'm thinking, wow, I could actually spend an hour explaining to you more about that, but I actually don't have time. And I feel frustrated about that because I know that my simple perspective and my advice would have saved you hundreds of thousands of rands. So here goes. And here we're going to start giving you as much advice as I can in this limited amount of time. And number one is you're not alone. You need to select a team, a support team that's going to be with you. And this is your top 5, the big 5. You have to have a good banker. You need a good accountant. You need a good lawyer. You need a good insurance advisor, and you need a good investment advisor. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that we have learned, and that is that you want competency around you, and you want the best possible people, and you want people that actually want to work with you. So if currently you don't have that within your team, just remember you are not a tree. You can change. So we encourage you to change and change fast, because this is absolutely essential to your success. And also, generally speaking, these competent, highly professional people are not very emotional people. So if you want a warm, fuzzy feeling, buy yourself a puppy, but you're not really going to get that from your accountant. They are numbers people, but they are totally competent in their area of expertise. We choose to bank with FNB. There are many good banks available in South Africa, but FNB gives us excellent service and a lot of additional services for small business, which makes it easier for us. I can, for example, set up all my beneficiaries super easy, of course, with most banks the same, and you can email your statements directly to your accountant, so that also saves you another click. So as a small business owner, you're constantly wanting to save yourself time and energy, and modern technology allows us that. So if you're not happy with your bank, guess what? You can change that very quickly and very easily. But make sure that you've got also normally a personal bank manager that's going to be working with you. Once again, he's not your friend, but he is there to help you and solve problems for you. Accountant, we make use of a team called FinSolve, and we do recommend them to our affiliates. And if you don't currently have a good team working for you in the area of accountancy and legal compliance, your BEE stuff and CIPC documents and whatever legal documents you need to have, right up to and including monthly reports and annual financial statements and even estate planning. FinSolve is a great company. We have been through some bad accountants, some lackluster auditing, but these guys really deliver. And I literally need to ask them something 5 minutes later, I have it in my inbox and I'm not wasting time. A lawyer, we use a family friend as a lawyer, but make sure that you've got a good lawyer. You need to be careful what you sign. Don't sign anything that you don't understand. Definitely don't sign any personal sureties, of course. And you definitely want to make sure that you have a lawyer check through any contracts. We even recommend to people that are signing our contracts, have your own personal lawyer go through everything. If there's anything that you're not comfortable with, come back to us. Insurance advisor, you are going to need to limit your risks, especially in South Africa. So make sure that you have a professional insurance advisor. We make use of Discovery. We make use of my brother, who is a Discovery broker. But shop around and find someone that's really prepared to sit with you and take the time to make sure you are getting what you need. And then fifthly, you need an investment advisor. You may well find that you're in a situation where you could split companies, possibly. You could have one company owning your property, and then your actual training company is renting from your property company, et cetera, et cetera. So you need someone that has that kind of expertise that can give you that kind of advice. So moving on to principle number one. Principle number one is basic business knowledge. Even though you might not be an expert or competent in this particular area, you need to know enough to ask the right questions. For example, last year, there was at least an extra $1 million or so showing as income on our annual financial statement. And I knew that this was not correct. We were looking at a very inflated tax bill, and I was able to ask the right questions. And actually, it was a situation where I had not credit noted invoices, and so those invoices had been picked up as sales. And actually, we had not received the money for those invoices. So we were able to correct this. And in actual fact, we ended up getting a tax refund. And the tax refund was paid just before Christmas, which was very valuable. So you have to know enough to ask the right questions. And finance, as you know, is a different language. You're talking about AFS, you're talking about balance sheets, assets, liabilities, depreciation, sunk costs, fixed costs, gross profit, accumulated loss profit, etc. So just know the basics. Now, we're not going to teach you the basics. What I have done is I've negotiated with FinSolve a special 6 online course, blended course that you can do for just 3,000 Rand. So if you are interested in that, we'll definitely send you that information, and you can just deal with FinSolve directly on that. But that's going to give you enough basic information that you can ask the right questions. So the second thing is you've got to have targets. What actually do you want? Why are you in business? And if you don't know, it's probably a better idea that you get a job. You've got to know what kind of income level you are shooting for. What kind of lifestyle are you wanting for yourself and your family? And what is the cost of that lifestyle? Is it going to work out to 40,000 Rands a month, 50,000 Rands a month, 100,000 Rands a month? How much does that work out to per working day? So if we work on 20 working days in a month, what kind of net profit do you need to be generating per working day in your month? And bear in mind also, if you look at the year, that some months are better working months than others. For example, Christmas. You'll be lucky if you get 1 good week or maximum 2 good weeks out of December, and similarly with January. So you're going to have to work out what that monthly and yearly expectation is. And then you've got to plan. So you've got to plan what is your year looking like. And if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So this is where you've got to understand what it is that you want to achieve, and which are going to be your key months, and what kind of work activities are you going to be committed to. Certainly, within an actual month, within an actual week, you might find that you want to keep Mondays, for example, for your admin days, maybe Friday for your reporting, certifications, and planning ahead for the following week and marketing or whatever. And then 3 key days that you're actually doing face-to-face training, or going to see clients actively, or doing your webinars, etc. So that you're actually planning your weeks, which add up to your months, which add up to your year, and bearing in mind that you might have 9 good working months and 3 lesser working months within a year. But you need an overall plan, and this overall plan will feed into your business plan. And Stephanie Nelson, who I can't wait to hear her presentation in the second half of today, she's just going to be talking about the business plan and other documents that you need for your accreditation in any event. So a lot of business owners tend to start their business without having a business plan, and it's really such an essential item to figure out what you want and what is your 2-year plan, 5-year plan, and what is your sell-by date. Do you want to actually get out of this business at a certain point? So moving straight on to income. So Ken's last affiliate business orientation, he did an amazing job just kind of listing marketing opportunities and how you can actually expand your income opportunities. And as an affiliate, there are many different ways to create income. Of course, there's your face-to-face training. As you know, with COVID-19, I think it's actually been a huge advantage to the training industry because it's really forced us to take the online opportunities seriously. And now you can offer blended online training, which might combine some face-to-face, but with some online, maybe with some learner books or whatever that you send as hard copy via courier, etc. And then you can also make use of our online LMS, the INTRA LMS as well, so that you can plug students and learners into that wherever they might be in South Africa or elsewhere in Africa or Middle East or elsewhere in the world. And you can earn income from that as well. You can do health and safety talks. Ken is always big about that, but not everybody is a professional speaker like Ken or, you know, specifically geared in that direction. Me, myself, I'm more a teacher than a professional speaker. You can also make money from retailing books on health and safety and health and safety books. IntraSafe has a couple that we make available to you and that you can access for that purpose, and there are others available. Another quite lucrative area is PPE, and I know a lot of people have made a lot of money during the COVID-19 period, but this might be something that you might want to look into for future, either as a distributor of PPE or otherwise maybe holding some of your own PPE. And then also SOS, what Ken calls SOS, selling other people's services. So also within the affiliate network, you have an incredible opportunity of being able to make use of other affiliate services. And with the new accreditation details coming through from Department of Labor, there may well be a situation that you are waiting for your accreditation for first aid, for example, and you can network with another affiliate who has already got that accreditation, then you would be able to set up an SLA or a partnership deal with them for this limited period of time so that you can still continue to deliver on that contract without losing that contract, without losing your client. But this is the advantage of working together with other affiliates and vice versa. And sometimes we have some massive tenders that come through. In this case, it might be that one or two affiliates combine their efforts together in order to achieve that particular tender because it's just too much for one person on their own or one company on their own. So there's just a few income opportunities and there's many more, I'm sure. Just be creative. But every day you need to be adding value to your clients and refer and include these income opportunities and ideas into your master plan. So you're looking to see what you're going to be doing where. Maybe you're going to be doing 3 face-to-face training scenarios in a month, but you're going to be doing 10 webinars or whatever works for you and for your particular lifestyle. So when I say 3, I mean 3 courses and maybe you've got 50 learners in a course, whatever. But that's what you're going to need to have a look at. Then you need to manage your business. Now, I use the word manage because that then encompasses record keeping and budgeting, and a lot of people hate the word budget, but you have to put a budget together. This is absolutely key. So unless you know exactly what all of your expenses are in a given month, it's impossible to run a profitable business because there's just going to be so many holes. You need to actually do your own HIRA on your business on a regular basis and fix the holes. And you might have subscribed for something, for example, and I mean, these are small things, they're small amounts of money and they're designed this way so that you forget about them. But they're busily, happily deducting this amount of money from your credit card or from your bank account every single month, and you're not even using this anymore. So always keep a very tight eye on every single cost. And this is often the challenge for me, is that on the one hand, you are if you like, managing your business in a way that's going to show you the maximum amount of profit. But on the other hand, you are also going to have to show that you are barely breaking even or creating a loss in terms of your tax return. So you need to be very creative here. And I always say, look at your financial year and plan accordingly. So our financial year, for example, is the end of June. Always the months of April and May, I'm looking ahead and I'm being very communicative with my accounting team to look at what are the profit margins that are showing, and where we could maybe now invest in the business in the final 2 months of the year, so that we are not showing this massive profit, and therefore you're going to lose a massive chunk of your money to SARS. So when I'm saying budgeting, have like your actual budget and maybe have a more creative budget where you've got some creative ideas like a staff wellness program and staff training program and all sorts of other things, etc. Technical asset improvement program that's going to help you with your tax. So I hope that that makes sense to you, and that's a really important money penny tip, and I really want you to take that to heart, because you don't want to work so hard and so brilliantly and achieve so well, and then you're going to lose a whole section of your money to tax unnecessarily. I always say pay some tax, but you don't have to pay a lot of tax. So with your budgeting, as I say, you know, be very careful to list absolutely everything. When I first started, I literally wrote everything down old school. Obviously now I use an Excel spreadsheet, but you know, just there's nothing wrong with starting old school and having a couple of columns and ticking off exactly what you are paying and double checking through all your slips. Every Monday for me, I'm going back over all my slips for the previous week, and I'm double checking and I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did Ken really buy that? I'm kidding. All right, he's actually really good. Normally it's the woman that's the CPO, the Chief Purchasing Officer. So if you wonder why Ken always holds my hand, it's just so that I don't take out my credit card. So the money penny tip here: you do not account for every penny. You most probably are wasting many. By becoming a penny pincher, you will be surprised as to how much money you have. Remember, every penny counts. And then you'll be able to save and invest that money. So onto the subject of pricing. This is absolutely critical in your business. And Nicky and Graham are going to talk in more detail about this in the second half of today's program. I always say keep your pricing market related, but there's a massive difference sometimes in terms of your geographical area, in terms of the size of company that you're dealing with, etc. But what is very important always is to have a look at what your profit ratio is versus your turnover. So it's all very well to say, yay, I made 100,000 Rand turnover in the month. But if you're making only 30% profit margin and your fixed costs are running at 50,000, you're down minus every month going forward. So your pricing and your pricing of each item is absolutely critical. When I first met Ken, and Ken was alluding to this, I did not charge what I am worth. I made a lot of other people wealthy on the back of my expertise, and Ken quickly put me straight, and I was super grateful to him, because now, quite frankly, if a client is not able to pay me what I'm worth for a particular job, I would rather spend my time with Ken or read a good book than waste my time and not actually be making money. So it's very important for each job that you're doing, for each project that you're involved in. Are you making money? Does this make sense for you? I do understand that sometimes you're doing a promotion in order to get your foot in the door, but even then you desperately need to be covering your cost of sale and towards your fixed costs as well. So it's always important to be covering yourself. So this brings us to the key formula that you actually have to know, and you have to apply this formula all the time, and that is your gross profit percentage. So how do you work this out? Your gross profit divided by your sales times 100 to get the percentage equals your gross profit percentage. And as a rule of thumb, if you are involved actively, in other words, face-to-face trading, this involves you actively in terms of trading your time for money. The minimum gross profit percentage that you should be earning should be 50%. If you're working in areas where it's not involving your personal time, for example, you've plugged in 100 learners into the INTRA LMS, so it's not your personal time, they are doing their own training online, then the 30% commission that we offer you is just money for jam. If you are referring business to somebody else and they are doing the active work, it's their time that they are trading for the money. It's not involving your time. Generally speaking, we suggest you charge 10% referral fee. And once again, that's money for jam. If you're selling PPE, you might find that your markups are in excess of 70%. They could be 100%. They could be 200%. So once again, looking at your margins is incredibly, incredibly important. And one of the nice things about being able to work online more with your training and maybe offering your clients more blended online approach is that you can save a huge amount on your cost of each sale. And that's going to increase your gross profit percentage enormously. So let's just quickly do a quick exercise together. Grab your notepad, grab a pen. Let's just say you are charging 750 Rand per learner for a particular project. Okay, we're just working with one learner at the moment, but your cost of sale is 250 Rand. And let's say that that is just covering your printing costs and your catering costs and maybe something towards your petrol for attending that particular training session. So let's just say it's 250 Rand. 750 Rand minus 250 equals, yes, you're quite correct, 500 Rand. That is your gross profit, okay? It's not your net profit, but it's your gross profit. Now, to get your percentage, you're going to say my gross profit, which is 500 Rand, divided by 750 Rand, which is your sale price. That's what you've invoiced the client, times 100 to give you the percentage is equal to 66.6% GP. Is that a healthy profit margin for you and your business? Yes. And then multiply that by the total number of learners that you might be involved in that particular project. Okay, so try that with your own examples. Have a look at the different projects you're currently doing and apply that formula and check and make sure that you are actually running a profitable business. If not, you need to relook at your prices. And guess what? What we have found is that clients are willing to pay for a professional who delivers. They know that if they hire an amateur and not a professional, it's going to cost them so much more. So don't be shy to charge what you are worth. That's really important. And this brings us to the next very, very important principle, that you have to know this number. You have to know what your break-even number is. So here again, I'm talking about very small businesses. Let's just say that your monthly fixed costs, that covers your personal expenses, covers whatever staff you might have. And, staff is another whole issue. Ken and I are not very excited about staff. We much prefer to outsource and outsource contract as we need additional services, because having a full-time staff member is a massive fixed cost. And you definitely want to keep your fixed costs as low as possible. But I do understand that sometimes you're in a situation where you've got someone that you've used for 20 years and you don't want to break that particular loyalty, and we totally respect that, but then you're going to have to make sure that you earn enough money that this is not an issue. So you've got to know, let's just say, for example, now as a small business, we're going to use an example, your fixed costs every month of 50,000 Rand. That means that your net profit, not your gross profit. So what is your net profit? Your net profit is your gross profit minus the cost of sale. So I actually run a column where I'm just sticking to my net profit. If I'm paying a commission or a referral fee on something, I deduct that first. Then I've got my net profit. I'm interested to see what is that total of net profit at the end of the day and at the end of the month And if that net profit now equals your fixed cost, your fixed monthly overheads of 50,000 Rand, you have hit break even. Now, it would be better that you hit break even in your first week of the month as opposed to the last week of the month, because it's a lot less stressful. So this is why we really advise you to consider your cash flow very carefully, and I'm going to come to that in a second. But I just want to make this point that now, once you hit 55,000, you've now got 5,000 real profit. This is now real profit. And as it goes up, 60, 70, 80 to 100. So let's just say you've had a fantastic month and you've actually made an extra 100,000 net profit over and above your break-even point. So this is an additional 100,000 net profit over and above your break-even point. What do? Don't spend it. Don't spend it. Put it in an interest-bearing account, because remember, there are a couple of months in the year where you might not be able to secure the same earning potential as other months. Christmas comes around every year, believe it or not. And there are certain times of the year where there are school holidays, Easter, middle of the year, where people seem to disappear, and business sometimes is a little bit more difficult. So, and then there are pandemics or something, we just don't know. So it's very, very important that you don't eat your seed grain. You need to rather have your seed grain growing so that you can finance your business through the whole of your year. I hope that this makes sense, because we see that the biggest mistake small businesses make is that the owners of the small business strip the business of every available cash, and then when there's a crisis, they have to go into debt in order to finance the crisis. So the next point is cash flow. What is break even there? I think that you've got that point, and work out your own break even. So cash flow, and please don't think that I'm preaching at you. I've made all of these mistakes 1,000 times, which is why I've got the t-shirt and I've got the tattoo, and I can share these perspectives and hopefully prevent you from making the same mistake. And please, I would really welcome your recommendations and your opinions and your comments and your feedback at the end of this. If you feel I've been a bit harsh or whatever, please come back and tell me so. But I don't want you to suffer unnecessarily. These are things that you can get really, really good at. And if you get good at these principles, your business is going to flourish and it is going to be worth something. And if you want to sell it one day, you definitely could. So your cash flow is critical. If you don't have money available in your bank account when it comes to paying your fixed costs, you're going to have to borrow that money or finance it from somewhere else. And often owners of businesses have stripped their own personal savings accounts, their own personal credit cards, etc., to finance their business, which is now destroying their personal financial security. And this is not what we want for you. So you need to understand what cash flow requirement your business has on a month-to-month basis, and what is the necessary, and what is the ideal, and what is the Rolls Royce. So you need to always be working towards your Rolls Royce version. Don't hold yourself back. Remember what we said right at the beginning. It all starts with a decision. You can decide to run a successful business, or you can decide to run a struggling business for the rest of your life. Believe it or not, it's actually your personal decision. You can decide to be happy, you can decide to be unhappy. It's a personal decision. So once you actually get it right in your head, you will find that you will be dedicated to find the correct solutions. And there are solutions available to us. And with technology, there's so much information and guidance available free of charge online. So understanding your cash flow and how much money you need is critical. And Nicky is going to touch on debtor policy in the second half of this presentation. I'm really looking forward to that. I always take notes when Nicky talks because she's so experienced. But a couple of good ideas is definitely get advance payments and deposits. And we particularly fond of clients where you can build up a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month retainer. I was speaking to a potential new affiliate the other day, and she's actually negotiated a contract over a 2-year period. It's 240,000 rands worth of health and safety training and maintenance, etc. And that's being paid at 10,000 rand per month. Now, that's a very nice retainer. So you just need, if you've got 50,000 fixed cost, you need 5 of those, and you're already covering your fixed costs every month, which means that all the additional training or other products or online training or referring business are additional monies that are now adding to your profitability. And this gives you financial peace of mind. But also it's just sound business sense. So when you're looking at what your objectives are in your business in terms of the kind of clients that you're looking for, we definitely support that. There is an art to data control, you know, and you do need your own company data policy. You need to decide what that is going to be. If you do have a client that's in default, and Nicky will touch on a couple of ideas to help you with that. And we do have a couple of letters, like a letter 1, letter 2, letter 3 examples that we're going to be sending you next week, so that might help you as well. But it's easier to keep an old client than to find a new one. So be careful. You don't want to start really irritating and harassing good clients and creating a bad relationship. And then that ends up with you losing that client. So once again, Nicky's going to touch more on this later, so I'm going to move on to the next principle, which is debt. Now, often small businesses, and we've chatted about a couple of ways that small businesses can get into debt, because you do need to meet your fixed costs at the end of the month, but you didn't get your money in on time. Now you've got to take out a loan or a credit card or whatever. But please understand that having your own business, and this is also besides the fact that you need your own business PTY if you're going to get accredited, but also it makes sense from a personal protection point of view to protect you and protect your family assets, etc. You want to have a PTY, and there are laws that protect small businesses. For example, if there is a debt that has been longer now than 3 years, and you have not paid a cent on this particular debt in a 3-year time period, it is now by law prescribed. Now, you may well have someone that is harassing you on the phone, and this is often, especially if it's a bank debt, of course, they'll be harassing you on the phone, etc. Then they're not the original debt owners. That debt has been sold on to professional debt collection companies, and they are now harassing you to actually pay the debt. As soon as you pay something, you have now reignited that debt from being a dormant debt, prescribed debt, into a live debt, which is now you are actually stuck. Now you are actually going to have to pay that debt. Now, I'm not for one moment saying that you're going to just kind of incur debt and then just run away from that debt, because quite frankly, that's stealing. And if you are not running your business in an ethical manner and with absolute 100% integrity, I don't think that that is the way that you should be running your business. Some people, it may well be that your business is irretrievable, or you've inherited a business, or you've bought a business and it's an irretrievable situation. Then it may well be necessary for you either to deregister that business, liquidate that business, and then create a brand new company. A brand new company costs you, what, 3,000 Rand for the paperwork and a few other bobs and whatever, and then you've registered a new company. In any event, it might be a good idea every 5 years to register a new company and get rid of your old company for whatever reasons. There's actually some excellent advice that you can get from a friend and colleague of ours, Peter Carruthers. He wrote a book many, many years ago called Crash Proof Your Business, specifically designed for small business owners. And we really encourage you to get hold of that book and read it. It saved Ken and I literally hundreds and thousands of rands. And we always say, please, he says, never sign anything that you don't understand, and never sign anything in Latin, or anything that you haven't checked with your lawyer. And where you do have debt in any event, and this is necessary debt, and you do need to pay it off, there are two trains of thoughts. Either you pay off the debt with the highest interest first, but we find psychologically that it's actually better to sometimes pay off the smaller debts because you feel that you've made progress. Say, okay, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. Don't take on any new debt, definitely. And you can normally go to the bigger creditors and just say, look, this is what we owe, this is the situation, COVID-19, blah, 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 whole, sob story. This is where you do need to have a sob story, but I can pay you 100 Rand a month. And as long as you're paying something, and they will push you, no, that's ridiculous, they can't accept 100 Rand a month. Well, then let them take you to court and you can stand up there in front of the magistrate and you can say, this is the situation, blah, 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 but I can pay 100 Rand a month. Guess what? The magistrate is going to say, thank you, perfect, so there is always a way. And I just remember a great millionaire mentor of mine just said, whenever you think it's absolutely the end of the world, guess what? It's not. The sun comes up tomorrow and there's new opportunities and there's another day. So if you are in debt or you've got something that's really choking the life out of you, I just want to encourage you and say, I've been there, I've been millions in debt, and we've got ourselves out of it completely 100%. And if I had to say my life with a lot of debt or my life without debt, I have to tell you that living without debt is fantastic. And it's amazing. And it's a wonderful, free way to live your life. And you can do it too. And even if it took you a year or two to get there, then that would be definitely an achievement in itself. And debt can also be very powerful in helping you with tax. So it's good, especially from a tax point of view, and that's going to be the next principle that we talk about, is that if you've got losses that you are holding from one year to the next, make sure that these are audited losses, because that's then, it's like getting money for nothing the next year. It's fantastic. I mean, we've got one company, it was from a production point of view, we had a client default on a payment, and we've still got about R1 million worth of loss there that we're using every year. And it's fantastic. It's like getting money for nothing. So don't be shy if you have got a loss, that you are assessed loss that you're carrying over from one year to the next. That's absolutely great. So taxation, this is really such an important part of your business, and one of your major creditors. And as you know, if you don't have a current tax compliance certificate, it's not even possible for you to get certain work, etc. So you have to be up to date with your tax nowadays. And once again, if your previous company was just so far in arrears that it's just irretrievable, create a new company. Then you can get your tax clearance certificate, and so everything's brand new and everything's clean, and then away to go. I think I was talking about just claiming bad debts and being creative with your expenses when you've got a couple of months to go, especially towards the end of your tax year. And getting professional tax advice is key. And one thing that I like about our suppliers, FinSolve and Gavin Beretta in particular, if you can get a personal consultation with him, is that he thinks out of the box. And you've got some accountants that will just, this is what it says, this is what you must pay, X, Y, Z. And that's why I'm saying you've got to know the basics, because if you don't know like what questions to ask, you're just going to accept the accountant's point of view, and guess what? They're probably earning a way lot less than you. Now you're taking their advice. You need to be up on this, and get professional advice here. That's well worthwhile paying a few $1,000 to getting advice every year, so that you can see exactly what you can do. Sometimes you've got to register for different types of tax. Maybe you're registering for turnover tax as opposed to this. And definitely you can pay yourself a salary, but you want to keep your salary probably at under 7,500 Rand a month. Why? Because as soon as you go over that limit, then you are going to incur personal tax. So you can still run your expenses through your business. So have a look at how you're going to put all your personal expenses through your business legitimately, but you're only paying yourself 7,500 Rand per month. Yes, I guess, but I need to buy a car, and how can I buy a car if I'm only showing 7,500 Rand? I promise you that there are ways that you'll be able to solve those problems, so don't worry about that. But keep your personal salaries as low as possible. And remember, if you really are caught unawares with a big tax problem, you can always buy a whole bunch of personal RAs and rather have your money going into that as opposed to paying a huge tax bill in your personal capacity. But we really don't have time to go into, like, there's just so many points about taxation, and it's just such an important area. But as I say, if you've been following the previous points that I've been covering here, you're going to find that your taxation here is easier. Just bear in mind, in small business, you've got 2 provisional tax payments and your final tax payment at the end of the year. So you need to have money aside ready for those provisional tax payments. Sometimes it's awkward. The one is like literally in December, normally before Christmas. Is very awkward. So you want to make sure that you've got, like, I don't know, 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 in a separate account, earning interest, you know, so that if there is, you know, a big tax issue, you can at least pay the provisional tax, bearing in mind that once you've done your final AFS, then you will be able to score a refund probably on the provisional tax that you've already paid. But I mean, just for an example, maybe for each provisional tax payments, you want to have 25,000 or 20,000 that you're going to be paying for that. And then for your final year, it should be closer to break even, and then you're going to get a bit of a tax refund. Anyway, that's kind of like just a quick money penny tip there. So the next principle would be saving your money. And you know, it's very important, especially in small business. You're providing your own security. Ken and I are entrepreneurs. We cannot work for other people. We are totally unemployable. We love being entrepreneurs. We love the flexibility that it offers us to live our own life on our terms. We work really hard, but we also play really hard. And having emergency funds has absolutely changed our lives. So as a small business, that's recommended, have a minimum of 3 months fixed costs put to one side, and probably you should have at least 6 months to 12 months put to one side, earning interest in a not in an account that you can get to easily, maybe an account that is 24 days, not 24 days, 24 hours notice account or something like that. So it's not easy for you just to quickly use it for the weekend, but you've got, you know, that money is there, and should you need it because a client defaulted or an expected payment that was due didn't come in, you still got the money to take care of the necessary, and also for emergencies, because emergencies happen. Maybe someone crashed your car and now you've got to solve that, and the insurance doesn't cover it adequately, and now you've got to buy a new car, and your laptop was hacked into. Cybercrime is a big issue nowadays. You need to make sure that you know that your business is protected, and you may need to solve all sorts of problems, etc., and you need that extra money. Then you also need to be investing your money. And here I have to say that Ken and I are definitely not experts, and we really do depend on other experts to advise us on this. So, you know, you may want to invest in new intellectual property. With our affiliates, we give them a license to make use of our intellectual property, but you also have your own intellectual property, and you may wish to add to that by buying a new intellectual property. You may be investing in accrediting or in extending your accreditation scope. You may be investing in additional assets for your business. Maybe you need a new car. You need to upgrade your technical. Each year we look at upgrading our technical, and as you know, what's available technically to make business easier for us as small business owners is just escalating every single year. It's absolutely fantastic. We love it so much. And you know, I'm 60 this year. Ken is 67 on Monday. So we had to learn technology, and we're still learning. But if you can just get your head around it, it's going to make your life so much easier, and you're going to make so much more money. It really is worth taking the time to invest in it and learning in it. And you may even find that you're in a situation whereby, you know, you want to split companies, and you want a company that's owning your property, and then your other business is renting from your property business, etc. And we know a lot of wealthy business owners who do that, and they've got different companies that are holding different assets, etc. And that you need to get professional advice on. So it's very important for your money to grow. You may find that your first million, that's absolutely been your own active hard work. But then there's a point in time where your money is going to build its own money, if you like, and start compounding. And that's the point that you want to get to, so that you can be truly, truly wealthy, and that your money is making money for you while you are sleeping. I think that's really, we all love the sound of that. And then 14, principle number 14, you've got to protect your business and protect your money. So protect your IP, protect your copyrights. It's not okay for people to make use of your material without your permission. It's not okay for them to make use of intrastate material without our permission. So keep an eye out on that. You need insurance. You need income insurance, probably health insurance, definitely. You need asset insurance for your assets, especially in South Africa with a high crime rate, car, vehicle insurance, life insurance to protect your family, and have a legacy plan, obviously, for your business. I'll come back to that. And maybe there's a pension plan or whatever. So protecting your business and protecting your business from cybercrime as well. Let me just mention that once again. It has become a critical issue for small businesses, especially now that we are more online. Just be very careful. In fact, I said to Ken, we need to ask Nathan, who's making cybercrime and ethical hacking his career going forward, to do a short presentation for us. So let us know whether you think that would be very helpful, because he definitely can give some very scary, it's really scared us a lot. It's very scary how easy it is for guys to hack into your systems, steal your intellectual property, steal your banking codes, etc., and walk off with all that hard-earned money. So you need to protect yourself and you need to protect your money. Very, very important. Yeah, a fool and his money are easily parted. Please don't be a fool. Be careful is our motto. And then give. Jim Stovall, he really talks about how important it is to go the extra mile. And you need to consider this carefully. Keep it to a smaller percentage of your available working time. Remember, we talked about 20 days being working time within your month. This is because you still want to have a successful family relationship. You still want to have a successful marriage. You want to be able to spend time with your children. You know, you are not a robot. You are a human being. You need to have time to look after yourself, look after your body, look after your mind, and have a balanced life. This is a big, big value for us. And therefore, you know, you need to consider the percentage of time that you can actually commit to giving, but it's definitely worth your while to increase your goodwill for your business and brand awareness by having promotions, maybe doing a freebie for your local community, making and doing some PR around that so that you actually get noticed. Very, very important. Don't do it for nothing. And make sure that there's PR involved. And maybe there's some companies, key companies in the area, or startup companies that you want to maybe get a hand. A startup companies sometimes can become very big companies, and they won't forget you, that you were the one that actually was there at the beginning and helped them along. Ken right now is busy and involved with a coffee club, which is doing free of charge, but it's huge just in terms of brand awareness for our business, and it's a huge gift to the health and safety community, and it's a critical time in South Africa with health and safety legislation changing once again, and it is necessary that people are aware, and especially if you're a professional in this area, you need to know what's going on. So thank you very much to Ken for all the time, and I see the amount of time that he gives to this, and he gets up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, etc., so that he can prepare everything in time and have everything ready. So, you know, there are also tax breaks that you can get for giving. So find out, once again, you know, if you are giving something specifically, it's a free course or this, get a certificate or a receipt or something that you can use as also against your tax. And if you've got trust, etc., I think the donations tax and things that you can do. And then lastly, we're coming up towards the end now. Leave. What are you leaving You know, here is the what if. What if you get divorced, or what if you die? Well, what if you die? I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you are actually going to die at some time. And then what's going to happen to your business? Have you thought about that? You know, are the bank accounts protected? Who has the codes for your bank accounts? And what are your wills and what are your wishes? And, you know, you can just download simple templates for your wills and your last wishes from the internet and use that as a basis. Just be very, very careful here. If you are going to use your bank or you're going to use somebody, they're very excited to be the executor for your will. Why? Because they're going to charge 5%. So just be very, very careful. And you want to make sure rather that if you have someone that you can trust within your family or whatever, that they are the executor of your estate, and that there's no percentage commission implied within that. In South Africa, there is estate duty. One of the reasons we were in Mauritius is that there's no estate duty, there's no dividend tax, no capital gains tax, etc. You know, but once again, understand what the taxes are that you are going to be dealing with. You may wish to transfer your business into a trust or have a family trust that owns your business. And once again, you need professional advice on that so that your trust doesn't die when you die, it just continues as normal. And sorry to end on such a morbid subject, but it is real. And would you really want your family, who are going to be so traumatized at this time anyway, to have to now try and figure out what to do with everything, how to access bank accounts that are now frozen? You didn't leave a proper will that's been properly notarized, that's been properly signed, and now the government is in charge of your assets. You know, well, good luck with that. And how many years is that going to take? So it is necessary when you are in business, especially for yourself, or even if you don't have a business for that matter, you need a will, and especially in South Africa, you need a will, and make sure that you've done that. And if you haven't done that, make that a priority for April to make sure that you've done that. Yes. And what I always say is, yeah, there are different ways of looking at life, and we were just chatting around the Burma last night while we were having a braai, and we've got a nice supply of boerewors here that we found, and just saying that, you know, life will pay you what you ask of it, and at the end of the day, what would you like to be said at your funeral is, well, you know, he lived life to the full, for sure, and they left a fantastic legacy for their family, and we're super grateful, and the next generation is definitely going to benefit. So just in conclusion now, just before our tea break, and I'm handing back to Ken, take time once a year, and we normally suggest the end of your financial year. So our financial year end is the end of June. So the period of June, which is also my birthday month, yeah, and I'm turning 60 this year. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. I actually can't believe it. I'm totally in denial. But this is a good opportunity to have a look at your business and do a proper annual review. Go and have a look once again at your budgets. Go and have a look at your insurances. Go have a look at your investments. What are you actually achieving? And if you haven't achieved anything, you know, what do you need to change to make your next financial year so much better and so much more effective in terms of giving you what you want? And with that, I'm actually going to hand back to Ken. And yeah, just finishing off once again, you know, if you're not happy now, you're not going to be happy when you are super successful. So make a decision now to be happy and to live your life to the full. And your future, the future of those you love, the future of causes you care about, and the future of those who will be confronted with your legacy long after you are gone, hang in the balance. So please don't miss this opportunity. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Ken.
Well, how about that? I mean, that is a mega amount of information in just less than an hour. And what Penny's going to be doing is she's going to be running a workshop that's going to be a paid event, because obviously there's a lot of preparation that's going to go into it. But if you'd like to spend 5-6 hours, how long's the workshop in?
That's going to be 4 hours.
Okay, if you'd like to spend... With
the exercises and with documentation, etc. as well.
Now, it's non-accredited. Non-accredited areas is life skill stuff. This is stuff that you...
This is sharing, yeah.
And you can hear from Penny's presentation a huge amount of wisdom and insights and experiences and things like that. I remember suddenly having to pay an attorney, in fact, an advocate, 25,000 Rand a day for a 3-day period. Where do I get that money from? And so she was talking about stockpiling it and having the money ready for an occasion like that. And more recently, I had an operation on my eye, and it cost how much in rand terms?
About 100,000 rand.
And we had to pay that up front.
And then Discovery refunded later.
And a portion of it was refunded, yes. So having the insurances and things like that. But have you got 100,000 rand which you're going to drop down tomorrow? And I also found we have a sad story of a friend of ours that he was a doctor, a medical doctor. He had Springbok colours for life saving and things like that. And he was on a mission in Mozambique and the aircraft crashed. And the family didn't have money to repatriate him and he died there. If we just knew that he was in serious trouble, we could have raised R1 million. We could have spoken to our friends, we could have dipped into our accounts, we would have raised the money and flown him back. But the family didn't even have a plan of action. It was like he had to die in Mozambique, and it was such an unnecessary thing. We've seen this a lot, and we're going to be sharing more and more with the affiliates, particularly in terms of our experiences. Some of the things that Penny spoke about, and I've WhatsApped you the book covers of the book. Certainly this is going to be rich and happy. And we know a lot of millionaires, and they are happy people. They're not sour individuals. We tend to think of the rich as sour. Not at all. They give, and they are happy people. In fact, this is one of the lessons that I learned, and then we're going to go on to the tea break. And it was a lesson that I learned as a younger person. When I meet somebody who's wealthy, I go, hey, you're a multimillionaire. How did you make your money? And you know what? They'll say, sit down. We'll tell you. And we have a circle. Yeah, we've got a circle of friends. One of our friends, very close friend of ours, he literally grew up in Ireland, barefoot, collecting potatoes. And he now has a massive organization in terms of shops around the country. Some of you may know the organization Bargain Books. And John's a close personal friend of ours. We stay in his house, he stays in our house. But here's the truth. If you don't ask, if you don't have the confidence, if you're not ready to actually step up to the plate, you're going to find it difficult. Okay, so on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch off everything on this side. I make it about 12 minutes past. We're going to break for 10 minutes for a tea break or a pee break or whatever it is that you want to go and do right now. And I see that Stephanie's here and Graham's here and Nicky are here, and we will continue the presentation in 10 minutes' time. So with that, a big round of applause for Penny. You can just do a round of applause in your picture over there. Yay, thank you, Penny. Everybody, cool. Nati, I see you not clapping. Didn't you like it, Nati? Of course, indeed, family. Thanks, guys. Okay, 10-minute break. So at this stage, those of you that gave Penny a round of applause, can I just see a visual round of applause again? Yay, thank you, Penny. Appreciate that. I trust that you're benefiting from it.
Thanks, guys.
And yeah, I mean, listening to her, and for those that missed out on the advert.
And it was so quick and so fast, but I hope that you managed to take some notes.
Yep. I've also been using Penny's phone, sending messages to everybody. And if you haven't registered on Penny's phone yet, please do so. Just send the word morning, good morning, morning, to 082 920 8170, 082 920 8170. And if you're watching this recording later on, doesn't matter, just send the message so that we can establish contact with you and keep you informed. But a quick, it's not really an advert, we make no money from this, but you'll make the money, is to share this game, Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow 101 game, with your family. Check it out. Nathan was telling me that it's online. He's got it as an app, and you can play it with yourself and the system as well. Okay, having said that, enough. I've been talking too much now, so I'm going to hand over to Stephanie. Stephanie's got a presentation, which I know that she is keen to share with us. So I'd like to say, Stephanie, thank you so much for making yourself available. And Penny and I really appreciate that. I think that this is a really important part of this journey that training providers have. Just in short, folks, Stephanie is our Super SETA accreditation specialist. We met her some years ago when she was working with John Hamilton, a friend of ours, who was getting his SETA accreditation for his first aid company. And as a result of that, we've developed a lovely relationship. Penny and Stephanie also developed the Accredipack. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Stephanie. And Stephanie, I want to see how, just very quickly, I want to hand, there we go. I'm going to hand the hostship over to you. So over to you, and then you'll be able to share the screen.
Good morning, everyone. Are you able to see my screen? I've got the first presentation slide up.
Not yet. It's maybe, let's just have a look. Stephanie. Okay, Stephanie, it might be because I'm still, okay, you're going to have to hand back to me so that I can switch off my share screen. I think my share screen may still be on.
Okay, you're going to have to talk me through it, Ken. Okay. How do I?
So if you can see my name, Safety Training Kits, right at the top there, you can just hand back to me.
Okay, right. I'll hand it back to you.
Try sharing again. No problem. So there we go. I can see your share screen. It says Stephanie Nelson has started screen share. Yay! Great. Over to you.
Yay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us. Penny, thank you so much for those valuable gems. I find it very valuable for my business, and my business has been enriched since meeting you and Ken, and I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like any business, an accredited training provider also needs to comply with governance linked to any company. So company law governance applies to training businesses as much as any other business. So you may ask, what are the business related documents or financial related documents that I need for my business if I want to be a fully fledged accredited training provider? I just want to go to the next slide. So this is the company governance. We've put it into 3 categories. Well, the business related documents required for accreditation, we've put into 3 categories to make it easier to navigate. Company governance, CIPC, your general company registration documents. And when you register a company, if it's for training purposes, try your best to make sure it sounds like a business that offers training and development. So that's the one thing. The other is your SARS compliance. So together with your CIPC, you'll automatically be registered with SARS as and be allocated a SARS tax registration number. In addition to that, your BE status document, which would indicate whether you level 1, level 2, level 3. as a BE. And as we know in South Africa, the BE status is important in securing tenders and any type of training because of the incentives linked to your BE status. The other one is financial statement, or if you are a new business, a letter from your bookkeeper or accountant indicating that they've been appointed as your bookkeeper or accountant. So if you're a business that's been in existence for a while, you would probably have audited financial statements, and you would need to provide that under your company governance documents. The other category is premises. While premises is not essential as a training provider because your training will take place at the client's venue, it is still a requirement in some cases, in some seaters, because bear in mind, we have 21 different seaters. We have 3 quality councils, and each one has a slightly different requirement in terms of premises agreements. So your first one is your health and safety audit certificate. So if you're offering training at a venue that requires classroom activity and you have an influx of learners or students or delegates, you'd have to make sure that your health and safety audit certificate is in place. It's a general audit to check the premises, the electricals, the wiring, just the general health and safety. But if you offer training at a client's venue, that responsibility becomes your client's responsibility, and you need not provide a health and safety audit certificate. Public liability insurance. This has become very popular, especially since COVID. You need to get cover with your normal insurance company, or if you don't have existing cover, you can add on public liability through OutSurance. We found OutSurance to be the quickest and the easiest. You do it over the phone. And public liability insurance is the insurance for your learners or your delegates. It's not funds that you can access. It's funds that your clients can access in case of something going wrong at the place of work, or where they are studying, or where you're teaching them or training them, if they get injured. And also if you decide to close down and there's no recourse, they can access your public liability fund to get some money back so that they can continue their training or their studies elsewhere, or at least get compensated. And then also premises lease agreement. If you don't have training premises and you train at your client's venue, you don't need premises lease agreements. You would obviously just have your lease for your home-based office, or title deeds if your home-based office is owned by you. And then the other category of the types of documents is contracts. One of the contracts is a learner registration form, or an application form, or an enrollment form, or registration form. It's the agreement between you and the learner or the participant or the attendee to your training. And it's just merely saying, these are their details, this is what they've registered to train on with you, and this is the sort of agreement that they would pay and that you would offer the training. And if there's a little cancellation policy, you would indicate the cancellation policy. If you have some terms and conditions around your training agreement with your learner, you would put it into your learner registration form. That is your contract with you and them. And then your facilitator, assessor, moderator, SLAs, we call them SLAs, service level agreements, or independent. They're usually independent contractors to you. So they're not always people who are employed by you. So you would have a contract in place with them so that when you need them to facilitate, assess, or moderate, it's spelled out in the contract what their responsibility is and what your responsibility. And as we know, each contract has a start date and an end date. And if it continues after a year, it protects you if it's just for a year. If it continues after a year, you just renew it and change the date. And then there's something new called an MOU. Workplace Experience. This is mostly if you're offering full qualifications. So most of you would only be offering single unit standards or a cluster of unit standards called a skills program. So you won't need an MOU with a workplace. MOUs are mostly for full qualifications. It's an agreement between you and the workplace, which says that your learners can go there for a period of time and get some workplace experience or workplace exposure. And why I add this is that if you want accreditation, each CETA is different. If you want accreditation with construction CETA, a workplace agreement is necessary because a lot of the assignments need to be completed on a construction site. So that's a new one. All of these templates are in your Accredi pack that you would receive via INTRA. The one that may not be there is the MOU workplace agreement because it's not necessary. But if you need it, if you're offering full qualifications, you can just check in with Ken or Penny or myself, and then we can give you a template for that. So all of these templates and descriptions are in the Accredi pack, and they're all necessary to be a fully fledged training provider. So those are the types of documents. We further categorize the types of documents into 2 categories for ease of reference. So if you want to look at it this way, company governance documents that are required for any company, whether you're a training company or whatever service you're providing, you would need company governance documents. It's exactly what we mentioned with a few more. The additional ones, or in more detail, is the company registration with CIPC. You register a business and you get your CIPC registration documents that show you are the director and the shareholding in the business. SARS good standing. If you're a newly registered business, you would just have a SARS registration letter. Otherwise, you would get a tax compliance status PIN issued if you've been in existence for a while. And of course, BE status, business plan. Your business plan just shows you your vision, mission, overview of company, your organogram, your SWOT analysis, which shows your market strategy. It shows you've checked the other competitors in your business area of business. You've checked what requirements are needed, and all of that goes into your business plan, as well as your company organogram, which shows the company structure. The CETAs want to see a proper company structure. They don't want to see a one-man show. So a typical or good company structure would be a managing director or a CEO, an admin person, a QA person or QA consultant, and a facilitator, assessor, moderator, and of course your auditor is also part of your organogram. All of these documents are in the Accredi pack, so there are templates that you can refer to there. And we mentioned financial statement, or if you're a newly registered business, it would be a letter on your auditor's letterhead, or your financial, accountant or bookkeeper or accountant practitioner. I'm trying to get to the word, but it's not coming to me. Your accounting officer. So it doesn't have to be a chartered accountant. It can be an accounting officer. You need a company logo and premises lease agreement, public liability insurance, and then the academic compliance documents are what we mentioned before, which are the contracts that we mentioned with facilitator, assessor, moderator, learner registration form. And the others are your QMS, which is a set of policies and procedures that guide you on how to implement your training. It gives you your standards and rules and guidelines on acceptable practices in education and training. And then, of course, your training material, which will be your unit standards, your set of courseware, And of course, very important is your marketing material, which could comprise your website, flyers, and generally an online presence. With COVID and lockdown, it's very important to have an online presence, because that's how your clients can verify that you actually exist and that you are a credible business. All of these items are not to make life difficult for you as a training provider. They exist to ensure credibility for those who will be using your services, and ensure credibility for yourself and confidence for yourself as a business, so that you would add value and that you would be compliant. Yeah, so look, we didn't want to make it over complicated or too much information. But if you have any questions around any of these items, you can check in with me. I'll be around. There's a further explanation for each of these.
There we go. Thank you, Stephanie. I love this technology. Just absolutely love it. So thank you for unmuting me. I really appreciate that. What you're going to have to do, if you don't mind, is just go off share screen and then make me the host so that I can introduce our next speaker. So for those of you that have been listening to Stephanie, you'll see that there's a lot of documentation that is required. She's saying it's not all that difficult, but obviously you need to get your ducks in a row and make sure that it's all kind of up to scratch. And Stephanie will give you advice on it. Stephanie and Penny have worked on the Accredited pack, and they would be able to provide you with information and so forth. But in the midst of that, you'll also see that you are, as a business person, you are in control of your life, but you need the money to be able to do these things. So Penny gave you a couple of ideas as to what you could do to generate the money if you're not there yet. For those of you that are already in a position where you can fund this activity, please don't get scammed. We've seen this accreditation thing. Stephanie's unsharing your screen. There we go. Thank you, Stephanie. We've seen so many people that have lost huge amounts of money and become unbelievably frustrated with so-called accreditation specialists. So before you go anywhere, just talk to the right people. Make sure that you've got all the bits and pieces, all the information. And at this stage, there is an hour-long presentation that we've got on our YouTube channel where Stephanie and Penny speak about the Accredited pack. There is another video that I did for about another 45 minutes where we talk about CETA accreditation, and I will send you the URL to both of them. It's a blog page, and I wrote a short book, which may not be perfect, but it is pretty much comprehensive in terms of understanding the CETA accreditation thing. And with that, I think our next speaker is ready. So we're going to be handing over to Nicky. Nicky, can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up over there? And can you unmute yourself, please, Nicky? And then I just need to find out, Nicky, do you have a presentation or is it going to be a chat? Okay, Nicky's unmuting herself. At this stage, can I just see a big round of applause for Stephanie for her contribution over there? Quite academic. Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate that.
Very necessary.
Absolutely. And let's just quickly see, Nicky, we just need to unmute you. Not sure why, but let's just go there. I constantly enjoy this process, just finding out how these things work. You'll see that there is a chat box at the bottom. So if you have any questions, please feel free to just click that chat box and write your note over there. Beryl, you asked me a question. You said you've got some of the documentation in place already. And obviously, is that enough? Well, once again, I would strongly suggest that you chat to Stephanie and just ask her, tell her what you've got. Maybe you can go through the checklist with her and find out what additional documentation you need and so forth. Nicky, can I just quickly check again? Can you hear me, Nicky? I can see Nicky, but we need to unmute you. Hey, so let's just see how we do that, unless you can unmute yourself. For some reason, okay, let's try that. Just change the format. Okay, reclaim host. There we go. Now I can unmute you. Thank you. A little bit of technology. Click here, click there. And Nicky, what we can do is we can have you, I'll set you up as the host and also allow you to do your presentation from that side. Are you ready, Nicky? Let's have an audio check.
Yeah, I'm ready, Ken.
Okay, so let's just see. Can everybody hear Nicky? Nicky, just say to everybody, tell us quickly who you are
Morning,
and where you
everybody.
come from. And if you could push your volume up a bit, that would be great.
I'll do that now, Ken.
Okay, so I'm going to make you the host. And then, like with Stephanie, if you could hand back to me afterwards as a host, you can share your screen and then you do your presentation. So those of you that don't know Nicky, some of you probably do from the webinars or the Zoominars that we've had in the past. She's been involved in the training industry for many, many years, and she has an impressive track record, not only in training, but also in engineering and the metal industry and so forth. So with that, Nicky, you're going to tell us who you are, and I'm going to make you the host, and then you can continue the process and give us your insights into the topic is essential tips for better debt control as a training provider. Over to you, Nicky.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nicky, and I'm from the company QTE Training. QTE stands for Qualified Through Experience. And first of all, I do want to apologize. I do have a lot of animals around me, and I try and keep them quiet, but they don't listen. I also have 3 African greys, so if you hear chirping in between, it's not me. It's the African greys trying to take over the conversation. I've been in the training for close to 30 years, but I started my own company back 13 years ago, and I'm in a niche market. Niche market means there's one training provider for whatever we need in the metal industries. And got the accreditation, fought for the ability to get our trades back into the industry because they were cancelled right back in 1988, and had to sit and beg at Department of Higher Education to bring it back. Bringing it back, it means there are no rewrites. You've got to pass the first time. So I think that's enough from my side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you and go through the debt that we all have and we don't like it. So just be patient with me.
Perfect. I can see it on this side, Nicky. That looks good.
Okay. I started off by thinking what it's going to be all about. Do I want to sit on the money, or do I want to be the guy on the right-hand side with empty pockets? So having a look at what's going on in the industry, the first thing I realized is when I issue a quotation, I've got to have my terms and conditions on it, because you always say to the people, please ask for the terms and conditions. They never do it. So on my quotation, you will find my terms and conditions. Banking details are on my quotation, because they always come back and say, please send me a bank letter. Okay, I will send you a bank letter once you've signed my quotation. The next thing is accepting the quote. If you accept the quote, you have to sign it and send it back to me. That by signing it, you are accepting my terms and conditions, and also agree to everything that's in there. This is why with everybody that I quote, I ask them, please sign the quote that you are accepting my terms and conditions. And I'll explain to you now why I do it. When they send you a purchase order, but they haven't signed your quote that they accepted, you'll get something like what I've copied on here. Invoices clearly displaying the authorized purchase number must be rendered to the college by hand or via email. Now I've taken the person's name out. All invoices must be signed by the receiving clerk. It means I've got to physically hand my invoice to that receiving clerk to sign it. prices, no variations or alterations of the authorized prices will be accepted. Now, we've just had a fuel increase. How do I tell them I've got to travel 1,234 kilometers to the training center where I'm doing offsite training, but now there's a fuel increase. So I've got to negotiate with them about the fuel increase. And then it says also, please note, if goods and services are not delivered within 13 days of issuing, the purchase order will be cancelled. Now, sometimes you're fully booked and you can't do it within 30 days and you haven't got somebody to stand in for you. So before you accept their purchase order, you go back to them and you explain to them that is not feasible. Have a conversation with them, go and see them, but not if they're over 1,000 kilometers away. The next one that I got and really put my hair up is the expectation from the training provider. Prepare and provide training material. How can you do training if you don't supply the training material? I don't know if it's a fly-by-nights that they're trying to prevent entering with the contract. Present the training. If you're going to do the training, you have to present it. Practice exams to pass the Cgeit exam. Now, this is a new thing that they brought in with preparedness for emergencies. The people have got to write that exam. And when you do the training on emergency preparedness, you've got to train them as well to pass that exam. The next one is provide certificates after training. Of course, we do supply certificates, but here's the catch. A full payment for training will be done after the college received the certificates of attendance. Now, if you go to any of the Cgeit colleges, they ask you to pay up front. And not only a percentage, they ask you to pay in full. I remember that from when my son did his training, we had to pay in full for whatever he was studying at that time. So please be careful. Have a look at your purchase order that they send to you. And if you don't agree with anything on that purchase order, call them, chat to them, explain to them what is going on, because if you don't, it means you're accepting their terms and conditions. And even though they've signed your terms and conditions, it falls away because the purchase order proceeds over the quotation that you've sent them. How do I get my money? Very nice. When I do invoicing, usually I do it on pastel, but I use a manual invoice, which I send to the customer. And the number that's on the manual invoice is one that is generated by pastel. So I just keep that invoice, put the customer's name in, but I do not complete it. Okay, because remember, if you invoice the customer in February, you got to pay the VAT at the end of February. So with a manual invoice, I will only give the original once the money's in the bank. It sounds a little bit cruel and it feels like you're dodging the system, but you're not. You're protecting yourself. Because if you do your original invoice, you have to pay VAT on it, even though the people that you're doing the training for hasn't paid you. Now, you've got to be very strict on payment. I say always, no payment, no training. Even if the students are sitting at my centrum and they're waiting for me to do the training, I will not train them unless I get payment on that. I'm very strict on that. Okay, they say, okay, I've sent you proof of payment. That POP, if they paid by EFT, is really impossible because they can reverse that payment. So I usually tell you, if you send me the POP, I will wait until that confirmation comes from my bank and I will carry on with it. Now, just to give you an idea what I did on my terms and conditions, I said my payment terms, full before training, okay? And there is no excuse for that. You can call me and you can make arrangements for payment. It means arrangements will be a certain deposit before training, and the minute I finish the training, you must pay the full amount outstanding. Now, the other thing on my terms and conditions that I've put that's very important, a booking confirmation must be completed upon acceptance of the quotation and returned to, that is the training company. The invoice will be generated in accordance with a signed booking confirmation. That is my terms and conditions. Proof of payment is required 5 working days prior to the training in order to avoid postponement. Late payment, there's a penalty, and I explained that very nicely to all my clients. 5% per month above the national prime. National prime at the moment is 7%, so it means I'm charging them 11% interest if I receive that money late. I'm not a bank. I cannot finance them to train their students. So these are my terms and conditions. The other thing that I put in as well is no refunds are applicable. Rather, training later, but it may not exceed a 1-month period. After that, a full course fee will be paid. Now, there I've told them exactly what they'll forfeit. 30 days, 25% will be forfeited. 15 days, 50%. 7 days, 75%. 3 days and not attending, 100% will be forfeited. And if they've booked for 45 students and only 40 turn up, this is not my problem. I've prepared training material for 45 people and not 40. So they will pay me, even if those 5 do not turn up. The other thing that's important, if you do traveling, you've got to tell them what is your radius that you are prepared to travel with money out of your pocket. Now, I said 30 kilometers. Anything over that, I do charge AA rates for every kilometer that I travel, and I also state that on my quotation. If I have to stay over, then either they pay my accommodation or I quote them for the accommodation that I've got to stay. And I'm not going to stay in shack. I want Wi-Fi. I want the luxuries that I do have at home. And that I state very clearly to my clients. And they do accept it. On the next one, if they don't want to pay you, call them. Okay? And remind them, no payment, no training. And like I said, even if the students are at the training center, I will not start the training. They can sit there the whole day. I don't mind. But I need money in the bank. Because if I'm out of pocket, it means I'm paying extra and the company that was supposed to pay me are scoring it. So after I've called them and I've explained to them, I will email them our conversation. Because what I do is I sit with the recorder and I record what we're talking about. And I tell them I'm recording it because I'm protecting myself, because especially with the POPI Act at the moment, we have to do all the protection that we can. WhatsApp them. There's a business WhatsApp. I make use of it. And everything is recorded on the WhatsApp. I back it up to the cloud. A telephone call, very important. Speak to your clients. Let them know you're there. Make an appointment. Go and see them face to face. They need you as a service provider. You need a client, but remember, you've got a commodity that they need. But you've got to be professional about it. You've got to be polite. You've got to be friendly, but stick to your rules. It is very important. As Stephanie said, theatres do not like a one-man operation. I am a one-man operation. I make use of contractors, or I give it to somebody else and I say, okay, only pay me a percentage. It's very important because time is money. And I work on the one book that I've read that impressed me very much is Who Moved My Cheese? Because I might be planning everything for the whole year. And then we have the COVID like we had last year, and everything moves. It's not the same. And like somebody told me in the metal industry, a very rich guy, he said it's very, very easy to make $1 million. It's not that easy to look after the $1 million. And if you do get a contract, say for instance, 1.5 million, don't let them pay that upfront. Okay? Go sit with them, talk with them and say, okay, I'm going to help you and you're going to help me. Let's make it an arrangement. Pay me 104,000 a month for a year. It means for a year, you've got your overheads covered. You've got a healthy cash flow. And like Penny said, make sure that you do invest. Because for those lean months that you don't have the money, you've got to make sure that you do have it. I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to me. And I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ken.
Thank you, Nicky. Really
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
that.
Nicky. That was brilliant.
Great. Nicky, can you hand the host back to me as well, please? I really appreciate that. And I love Nicky's approach because I think we've all made the dreadful mistake of going, yeah, we want the business so badly. One of the big lies that we hear in the industry, and I'm sure every single person's heard this lie before, the lie is, do this job kind of like on the cheap and then I'll give you more business. I'm sure you've all heard that one. You know, well, I can't afford this, so stay at home.
Yeah.
Don't get up, don't go out. Don't do it. Don't ever do something on the cheap. I'll tell you what I did do once, which was quite interesting, is I worked with a major bank. And, you know, those of you that know that this is also another option for you to become a professional speaker, not just a trainer, but a speaker where you go and speak at management conferences. And they flew me around South Africa, 13 different venues. I had my own aircraft. They gave me a supply of Red Bull, like I need it. Do I really need Red Bull? I have enough energy to power South Africa's power stations. And they put me up in decent hotels. Nicky, thank you so much. They gave me a driver. And we actually had 2 crews. We had 2 airplanes. One flew up front, set up the venue. I then came in and I did my presentation. Then the crew finished off and they went up front to the next venue. Cape Town, Durban, Joburg, BE, George. It was a phenomenal experience. And Nicky, you're right. I mean, who gets their own airplane? Now, I did happen to fly with the MD of the company and his entourage, and we had tons of fun on this aircraft. And you're worthy of it. You deserve it. With all the experience that you've got, you deserve to be treated properly. Just because it's the health and safety game, do not allow people to treat you otherwise. And one of the things that I want to say, do you want to find out Graham? Graham, are you standing by? Do you want to see where Graham is? One of the things that I want to say to you as well is this. Do you know that the speaking arena can command hundreds of thousands of rands alone? And today, or not today, this week, We're speaking to a very close friend of ours, Andre de Toy. Andre used to be the managing director of a company called Hanover Reinsurance. And long story short, when Hanover pulled out of South Africa, Andre went out on his own. He was one of the directors of Rawson's Properties. He was a franchisee of 3. He had his own operation. He had an online website that he was doing Property SA or Property Now or something like that. And he's a professional speaker. Okay, Graham, can you unmute yourself? I see your face there, if you wouldn't mind. Let's just quickly see. Is Graham, are you able to unmute? Nope. Let me just quickly find out why. In any case, Andre said one of South Africa's top speakers, a man by the name of Robin Banks, and that's not a career, that's a name. His name is Robin Banks, does about 15 million rands worth of turnover a year. So hopefully that fires your imagination up. So when Nicky was talking about millions, don't be fazed by it. There are people out there that are able to generate huge amounts of money, and I would say to you, explore that. See if that's something that you can do. All right, I'm trying to unmute Graham. Graham, it's on my side. I think the problem is on my side. So while we're doing that, I'm just going to ask Penny to fill in. Okay, Graham, we're just trying to, hey, Graham, we're just trying to unmute you. This is a little technical thing which I'm going to get right. But while you're on the line, you could just stand by. I'll get you unmuted in a moment, and Penny's just going to fill in for me while I'm doing that.
Okay, guys, while Ken is just updating on the technical, thank you so much, Stephanie, for that valuable information. And some of you have been asking for Stephanie's number. We will send that information through to you, no problem, so that you can deal with Stephanie directly. If you are an affiliate prime, remember that your full accreditation is covered within your affiliate prime package. So that's all included. And if you were an old affiliate, in other words, you joined before November last year, then there is a discounted rate for you to apply to the Accredi Pack and to Stephanie Nelson. So definitely get in touch with us for that. Nicky Gouws, thank you so much. That was awesome. And I think Ken has sorted out the technical.
Yes, we have. We sorted out the technical. Just out of interest, you've got to actually reclaim the host. So when Nicky handed host over to me, thank you, Nicky, I had to go on and actually reclaim that, which I didn't know was the truth. Okay, so there we go. But we've got Graham. Now, those of you that know the name Graham Kent Pearson, you may or may not know the name, but if you do know the name, you know that he's the chairperson of SHASTEC. SHASTEC is the Science, Health and Safety Training Advisory Council. Graham has been the spearhead of the discussions with the Department of Employment and Labour with regards to the first aid, the future of the first aid profession in South Africa. Graham has a huge amount of influence, and my respect, Graham, I really respect the work that you've done. Yeah. He owns a company called BLS Medical. He's been in the first aid training arena for many, many years. I'm not going to suggest how long, but you can see his beard's not white. But like Graham and I, we've all kind of like, we're a little shinier on top. Graham has worked as a professional in the healthcare industry in the Middle East. He's got a lot of mileage in that area. He also was in the Defense Force, and I know for a fact that he has picked up an enormous amount of useful information as a result of this conversation with the Chief Inspector, Department of Higher Education, QCTO, the various CETAs, and Stephanie. So, Graham, I've said enough. We just want to welcome you. Would you please take over?
Hi there, Ken. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. Yeah, just in way of introduction, adding on there, I've owned BLS Medical. I've had that for 26 years, primarily doing training, first aid training, occupational health and safety training. And that's where my passion is. And I was then asked to please give a talk on what needs to be taken into account when looking at pricing. Penny brought it into a good aspect. I'm just going to take it on from that point on what is expected. Hopefully I'll be able to share my screen. Let's just, where did it go?
Okay, Graham, I think I must just hand over the hostship to you. Let's just see where you are.
Okay.
More. Okay, I'm making you the host. Over to you, Graham.
Thank you. Thanks.
There we go. I can see the presentation coming up.
Right, there we go. As Ken said, owner of BLS Medical, and then also the chairperson for SASHTAC, which is the advisory committee to SIOSH in terms of health and safety education. With over the years, especially with first aid, there's now a big move over to unit standard training. And previously, it was always a case of I could do training at my own time, my own measures, was very flexible, very open. And with unit standing, it's becoming more and more quality assurance driven, and there's a lot more requirements. Now, with unit standard training, we're looking at basically it's an NQF aligned in terms of the NQF Act. And ultimately, at the end of the day, at the end of the training, there's credits that are issued on completion of that training. Now, with the unit standard or any training, basically 1 credit is equal to 10 notional hours. And a notional hour is then defined as contact time. And majority of the time, that's 30% in the classroom. So these are factors that you have to take into place. The student then has time for self-study, portfolio of evidence building, and workplace experience. And during this process, they build up a portfolio of evidence. They do a summative assessment or formative assessment, a assessment portfolios is generated, it then gets handed in, that then gets evaluated by the training provider, and then ultimately the student needs to come back for a summative assessment with the training provider, and at that stage they may not even be finished the course at that point. So generally, for instance, a 5-credit course will require about 50 notional hours. And we need to understand that notional hour is an average time. So some people might take longer, some people may take shorter, but that's basically where we're looking. And based on that, one needs to then start working out the costs that are involved. So pricing factors that you have to take into account is a number of, obviously, it was previously said, the number of students being trained at one sitting. So do you have 1 student? Do you have 2 students? Do you have 3 students? And what is your break-even point for you to conduct training and make it profitable for yourself? Other factors that you have to take into account during the pricing factor is the contact phase. How much time is the person going to actually be in class? And keeping in mind with that, it's how many facilitators do you need? What is the cost of that facilitator? Is that facilitator a full-time facilitator, or is it a contracted facilitator that you've got a service level agreement with? So those are factors that you've got to put into your program or your pricing. Then you've got to look at the formative assessment. So though the student has come for contact phase, they may go off and they then submit their portfolio of evidence. Is that formative assessment, you've then got to assess and moderator for that process that needs to be completed. And once again, it could be internal or external, and those factors then have to be brought into place. And same with the summative assessment. So the student gets his formative, he gets told, listen, you're lacking in this area, you need more research, you need more work. And once they've completed that process, they can then move on to the summative assessment. And once again, is a assess and moderator involved. So it's quite a long process where previously, for instance, my speciality is first aid training. We used to present a course in 2 days. That has now gone up to about 5 days of actual physical work. We may not be in contact with the students at all the time, but it now plays a major factor on the pricing. And then at the end of the day, all of that is the verification and endorsement by the quality assurance provider, typically the CETAs, which is another factor, because that's another day you're going to be taking out of your 20 days that Penny was talking about, that needs to be factored in. So a number of things, number of facilitators and assessors needed. All right. Do you need 1? Do you need 2? depending on the group of people that you can have. The number of moderators, internal and external. As previously mentioned, travel costs. Is this over and above your pricing? Is this included in your pricing? So transport, road costs, typically AA rates are applicable there. Accommodation and transport, accommodation meals, sorry. Previous speaker, Nicky, had mentioned that there. Training material costs. So learner guides, portfolio of evidences, summative assessments, all the additional costs, that needs to be costed out, worked out, so you know exactly what each student is costing you for you to present your training. And then venue hire. Is it your own venue? Do you have rent on that venue? Is there, do you hire a venue? Now, typically I used to hire a venue for 2 days. I've now got to look at hiring a venue for 3 days. Or even longer, 4 days, sorry, because they've got to come now back. So there's a whole lot of different changes in unit standard training than going forward. Other things that you need to factor in your pricing, in your training, is things as training equipment, your fixed training equipment, stuff that you will use month in and month out, your data, your mannequins, your safety harnesses, your hard hats, PPE, and then your disposable stuff that you'll be using. So all of that's got to be factored into the training prices effectively. And then, as mentioned by Stephanie, the seaters don't want to see you as a one-man show. So you're now going to have show support. You've got to have administration staff. You've got to have people quoting, invoicing, marketing, so that you can get work. And then ultimately, the uploading of learners to the various QAPs, learner databases or learner management systems, or their student management systems. The terminology is interchangeable there depending on the QAP. Penny mentioned the profit margin. So how much am I actually wanting to take out of this? And with this, you've got to then be able to effectively. Well, what I've found over the number of years is to try and look at what my minimum is. So what I want, where can I sit, and then work from that. And ultimately, then you need to factor all these to ensure profitability and growth. From experience, I started a BLS Medical 27, 28 years ago with 5 people doing my first course, taking 100 Rand out of my back pocket, having manuals printed and presenting the course and making some money. And so over the years, I've grown and grown and grown, but there was a point that I was under marketing myself. My prices were too low. And when I wanted to expand, I couldn't, because now all of a sudden my clients go, but hold on, why are you increasing your prices by 50, 60%? So you could, so it took me extremely long time, over about 5, 6 years, to actually get my pricing back up to a market related pricing, and then going forward to that. At the end of the day, I've learned that if you are priced right, you don't underprice, and as shown that you're a professional company with what was previously said, your marketing, your invoicing, your terms and conditions, etc., can only bode you well. I hope that just helps you a lot. Went through it pretty quickly, but I do know we are running tight on time. So thank you very much. I'm going to see if I can hand this back to Ken.
Fantastic, Graham. Really, really appreciate that, Graham.
Thank you.
Graham has an enormous amount of experience in this game, and he knows it backwards. He operates throughout South Africa, backwards and forwards, and he's had a team of people. And I know that you've been affected by COVID as well in terms of the numbers of clients that you've got. And I know that you've had to make some fairly radical decisions, business decisions in terms of staffing and so forth. Graham, I just want to say thank you to you and to everybody. Just give him a round of applause. Yay.
Thank you.
Graham. Appreciate that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of questions and answer. Thank you, Graham, for watching the time. Nicky, thank you so much for your input there. Really, the truth of the matter is it is a business, and you need to be quite like direct and forthright about it. Otherwise, you could land up in a situation where they don't pay you and so forth. We've had that experience, and we don't want you to land up in that situation where you are you're out of pocket. We shared Penny's story about how she was out of pocket. That in those instances, it could have been hundreds of thousands of rands that she was out of pocket. So we learned the lessons, and we know these lessons. That's why we want to share them with you. Penny mentioned our little personal philosophy of hope, helping others prosper and excel. And that's the truth. We want to prosper everybody. We want people to grow their businesses, be able to do what it is that they want to do for their families. We want to make sure that you can create jobs for other people and so forth and so forth. And to do that, obviously, it takes money. So we've had 3 speakers. Stephanie, you've given us an insight. And I want to say to those of you that have been asking questions, if you look in the chat box, I've got a couple of URLs there to various things that we've recorded and researched and have available. I've also sent them to you via via cell phone. Penny's phone has been on here, so I've been messaging people. Here's the latest one that I've just sent. All the research and information that Graham has been involved with. There's a letter that comes from SIOSH giving some explanations and so forth. I saw somebody mentioning there that there are accredited training providers that don't provide any training material, which is just completely unacceptable. Doesn't sort of, it's not part of the ethos of the whole SACWA system and so forth. But right now, I'd like to unmute everybody. I want to invite you to unmute yourself if you can. Let me see if I can do that from here. Ask all to unmute, and we'll have a couple of questions, and then I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll keep the microphones open so that you can ask questions or whoever, wherever you want to. I just want Penny just to mention again, she's going to be running this workshop. It's going to be a 4-hour workshop. I'm going to participate. This will be my 2nd or 3rd time through it. It is incredibly valuable, and you will learn an enormous amount from Penny. I hold her in high respect in terms of managing our finances, and I really need to learn a lot more stuff. But she's been learning from me as well in terms of technology. Okay, so can everybody unmute yourself? There we go. And we can open up, firstly, for a round of applause to everybody, all our speakers. Yes. Once again, an audible round of applause. Yay! Thank you so much, speakers. We appreciate that. And now the first question comes from... Right, who's going to ask the first question? Ferdi, has this helped you so far? Has this given you a couple of new ideas and so forth?
Then definitely, yes, yeah. I've learned a lot here. I mean, just yesterday, I was in the office, and I'm battling with LG CETA, I'm battling with construction CETA to get my accreditation through. What a nightmare. I'm definitely going to get in contact with Stephanie. Yeah, it's a nightmare. Since last year November, I was battling to get my accreditation. It's from the one to the other thing. My unit standards is not listed on the LG CETA. Yeah, so I'll definitely get use of Stephanie. Yeah, I mean, I've got a company, and I definitely want to go forward, and give the best to my students. I'm not just thinking, as long as my students get the most training, in the most professional manner, with all the training materials, and keeping the training materials updated through SIOSH, where I'm a corporate and technical member, it helps a lot, keeping on track. Yeah, it's just my credit bearing training that I want to provide to my students. And
yes, Fabby, and to everybody that's out there in Zoom land, have a look at that URL that I sent you. We wrote that article some time ago about CETA accreditation. And I can be absolutely honest here, and I say it took me about 3 years to get my head around this, because we're busy. We're doing other things. We've got a big training material, running our businesses, looking after the family. Penny and I try and stay as fit as possible. We go out and cycle, we train for races and things. When do we actually stop, look, learn, and listen? So we've got the 2 videos that will take you about probably, I don't know, 2 hours to go through. I often suggest, if you're going to be doing that, just speed up the video on YouTube. There's a little cog in the right-hand side bottom corner, and you can speed it up. So you can listen to a 1 hour video in half an hour by setting double the speed. And then the little booklet that we've got there, I called it the Tourist's Guide to the City of Ceuta, try to keep it as light as possible. It's not 100% perfect. Somebody pointed out a mistake in it the other day. It's fine, I'll fix it. But it's going to give you a much better understanding. So when, Ferdi, you speak to Stephanie, you will speak her language, and Stephanie will speak Sakwish. That's the language of Sakwa, like English, Sakwish. And you guys will have the opportunity of communicating on the same level. And I saw that there was a couple of other comments in the chat box. I'm not going to get to them now. Let's see. Questions?
Ken, Eric, yeah?
Okay, Eric, come on forward.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, how's it? I just want to ask Graham a question quickly. With regard to first aid training, now that we've got our accreditation for first aid training, we've now also presented our first training session. So with regard to the certificates, tell me, we're going to now, obviously you're going to go through the assessor and moderators, and then the CETA is going to look after the POEs and then issue a certificate eventually. Now, in the meantime, can we issue a certificate to the client so at least they've got something on their books when they get audited to see that they're compliant, that their first aiders are compliant? But we can't issue a certificate of compliance yet, I know that, but at least say that they've participated, certificate of participation or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just seeing Graham, are you still there? If you are, please with your mute. I can see you, yes.
I am, yeah, I'm just going to keep my video off. Yes, the training provider in terms of the first aid will not be able to issue a certificate of competence. They, however, will be able to issue a certificate of attendance to the course while you are waiting for the certificate of results and the certificate of competence to be issued by the QAP. What we as SIOSH have said is, because in terms of General Safety Regulation 3.4, the employer will no longer be able to, he will not be able to comply with that regulation, and therefore the employer will need to apply to the Chief Inspector for exemption till that can be issued. Now, we know that the time that it takes for the certificate of competence to be issued can be anything from 3 to 5 months. We're expecting that to be a lot longer, and that timeline getting a lot more because of the high demand and capacity that's now going to go through that whole system. So that's the suggestion. What I can do is I'll make a document available to Ken. I think I have sent it to Ken in terms of a template that can be used and cut and paste and put onto the company's letterhead and sent off to the Department of Labor for an application. But that's the only legal resolve that the person has. Is it doesn't help that they say, well, we send somebody on training. There is recourse in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act if they can't comply, and it's a valid reason why they can't comply. I've brought it up to the Chief Inspector's notice, and therefore the only recourse that they have is a Section 40 application. Thank
you so much for that response. I appreciate that. What I've done for everybody on Penny's phone, you'll have received the URL to the letter that you posted on the SIOSH website, and it explains some of these things, and included is the Section 40 application for exemption. And for those of you that would like this letter that Graham is talking about, just send Penny a message saying, yep, or we'll just send it out to everybody. We'll just send it to everybody. Don't respond. Graham, if you can send that to us, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so we're running short on time. I see the numbers are dropping. We're down to 25 because people have things to do. Let's see if there's any other questions, certainly for Penny, Stephanie, Nicky, or Graham.
Okay, just a question on from my side. I'm going to do on-site training. Now, according to LGCETA, they want a letter, a lease agreement letter. So I've got one. Will that assist with the on-site auditing when the CETA comes out and audit?
Stephanie, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, Fergie. Yes, you just need to provide a lease agreement with one of your clients, or from one of your clients. And when they do the site visit, the CETA can decide if they want to do it at that site or at your admin office. They may choose just to do it at your admin office, and you just provide them with that lease agreement for one of your clients, one of your most popular clients that you use. That's absolutely sufficient.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Guys, I see the time is up and I'm going to have to wrap it up on this side, but I want to say to our panel, thank you so much for our panel speakers, Penny, Stephanie, Nicky, and Graham. Thank you so much for your input. There's so much more that we can share with you. Our next meeting is going to take place. We'll set it up on the 10th of April. This is an affiliate orientation, business orientation session that you've been following. And the ABO, affiliate business.
Will be the 8th of May.
What did I say?
10th of April.
10th of April, that's today, sorry.
Today.
It'll take place after my birthday, which is the 12th of April, and it's the 10th, the 8th of May. We'll get that right. Join us. And we'd like to invite you to bring your husband and wife, if appropriate. I see Letitia and Eric, you guys are here as a couple all the time. Penny and I as a couple. If you are a couple, bring your partner with you. Certainly, if you want to put your laptop into a lounge or someplace like that and cast on your laptop, on your TV screen, bring in your staff, your team, the ones that are supporting you, because if you're benefiting from this, then they will benefit as well. What I'll also do is almost immediately after this, I'll upload this to YouTube, and then I will share this URL with you so you can watch it again and again and again. And I just want to say from Penny and myself, thank you so much for your participation. We really appreciate it. We'll let you know, keep you informed.
Look forward
and
to
so
your
forth.
feedback. Please give us your feedback.
Well, now she's jumping the gun here. And with that, hand over to Penny for the final word, because she always has the final word.
Not always. But guys, thank you for your valuable time on a Saturday morning. I hope this helped. And please do send us your feedback, because that helps us understand what it is that you need. And if there's any particular topic that really pressed your buttons and you feel like you need more information on, let us know so that we can provide that for you.
Absolutely. You can send compliments, comments, criticisms, critiques, whatever it was, to Penny, not to me. Send all the nice stuff to me. This is like a fantastic presentation and, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we love you lots. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe, look after yourselves, and we often end off by saying, play safe and stay safe. Thank you very much, then.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.